In 2014, Lucasfilm reset the Star Wars canon and reclassified all of the books, comics, and video games as Star Wars Legends. Only the 6 Star Wars films and the Clone Wars remained canon. Since then, some fan-favorite characters from Legends stories have been brought back. Grand Admiral Thrawn is probably the most well-known thanks to his appearances in the 3rd and 4th seasons of Star Wars Rebels, but there have been several other characters, both obscure and fan-favorites, that have flown under the radar. So here are 10 that you may have missed. Let's kick things off with Darth Revan. They definitely fall into the fan-favorite category. Revan was the star of the highly praised video game Knights of the Old Republic in 2003. They were a Jedi from the Mandalorian Wars that fell to the dark side along with their apprentice Darth Malak, and together they sparked the Jedi Civil War, until Revan lost their memories and returned to the light side to defeat Malak and restore peace to the galaxy, all about 4,000 years before the events of the films. Revan and several other Sith were all referenced in the Canon Visual Dictionary for the Rise of Skywalker, which I do think counts, but Revan was also called by name on Exegol by Sith cultists in the book Shadow of the Sith, and I will always consider story content to be more significant than reference material. Moving on to another old video game favorite, let's talk about Dash Rendar. He was the main character of the Shadows of the Empire video game, as well as the tie-in book and comic. He was basically a replacement for scoundrel character Han Solo, while he was frozen in carbonite in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He helped the rebels out as a mercenary, and eventually perished in a battle between the Empire, the Rebellion, and the criminal syndicate known as Black Sun. Or so he wanted people to think. He actually survived, happy to let all 3 factions believe he was dead. Dash was made canon in 2018 thanks to the in-universe journal book Tales from Vandor, where he expressed some doubt over Han Solo's story of making the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. He also says, "If I'm around, you don't need that guy," as a joke that he basically did serve as a Han clone in Shadows of the Empire. And we're gonna stick with Shadows for a minute longer, because the story's primary villain, Prince Xizor, was made canon even more recently. Xizor was the head of the Black Sun criminal syndicate. He saw himself as a rival to Darth Vader and attempted to organize his downfall by killing Luke Skywalker after the events of The Empire Strikes Back. Of course he failed, and that battle over Coruscant saw his death, for real this time. Black Sun was made canon thanks to the Clone Wars series and was shown to be led by Falleen, the same species as Xizor, and they shared his sense of style as well. The first issue of the Crimson Dawn comic that was released in late 2021 mentioned Xizor by name, solidifying the character's place in canon. Next up is Crimson Jack, a pirate from some of the earliest Star Wars Legends stories. He appeared in 6 of the classic Marvel Star Wars comics, beginning in issue 7 in 1977. He stole the reward Han received from the Rebellion in A New Hope, and remained a thorn in Solo's side for a short while longer, until they finally had a duel in the vacuum of space, a duel that Han, of course, won. He more recently became the primary villain of the canon Halcyon Legacy comic miniseries, which sees him chasing a Resistance spy for the First Order. So his timeline has completely shifted from the original trilogy to the sequel trilogy era. Let's stick with the criminal underworld for one more character, or rather a group of characters this time, the Fromm Gang. They were originally created for the Droids cartoon in 1985, where they served as antagonists for R2-D2, C-3PO, and their friends on the planet Anu. They also made moves against other criminal syndicates, which led to their capture by Boba Fett at Jabba the Hutt's request. In 2021, the Fromm Gang was made canon thanks to the War of the Bounty Hunters comic series. Although they were not seen visibly, Dr. Afrin noted their presence at the auction of Han Solo's carbonite slab. Next up, we have Manaroo, the bounty hunter Dengar's wife from Legends. She was first created for the Tale of Dengar in the Tales of the Bounty Hunters anthology collection. She found herself captured by the Empire and Jabba the Hutt on multiple occasions, and Dengar rescued her every time. He was injured around the time of Jabba's death, so Manaroo nursed him back to health, and they fell in love. They traveled to the Pit of Carkoon to scavenge the remains of the sail barge and found Boba Fett instead. They then nursed him back to health, and Fett agreed to be the best man at their wedding. I don't know why I always remembered that detail as a kid, so I was excited to see Manaroo actually pictured for the first time in the canon comic Bounty Hunters issue 14. That series again showed her to be a captive of Jabba the Hutt's until Dengar rescued her. We've been talking about a lot of villains so far, so let's get into some good, wholesome characters, like Gormaanda from the Star Wars Holiday Special, everyone's favorite Star Wars thing ever. She was a four-armed cook that appeared in an instructional video watched by Chewbacca's wife, Mala, as she prepared a meal for Life Day. She was made canon by our amazing April Fool's Day Binging with Babish parody video. Oh wait, no, she was actually made canon in the short story collection Tales from a Galaxy Far, Far Away, specifically the story A Recipe for Death. It was about Maz Kanata's chef, Strono Cookie Tuggs, who was said to have watched Gormaanda's holovids as a child, which inspired him to follow in her footsteps. If you thought I wasn't going to talk about Corran Horn again, you're crazy. Corran was a Corellian pilot of Rogue Squadron in the Legends X-Wing books by Michael Stackpole. In the years following the Battle of Endor, he helped liberate Coruscant from the Empire, he was captured, he escaped, he learned he was the Force-sensitive son of a Jedi, and he eventually joined Luke Skywalker's training academy. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series recently showed us a young Force-sensitive boy named Corran and his mother Niche being smuggled to Corellia. Niche was Horn's mother's name in Legends, and the series also canonized the true name of Corran's father, Valen Halcyon, by writing it on the wall of the safe house in Mapuzo, so there's a bonus character for you. And we're gonna stick with that wall. There are several names there, but I want to go obscure with Roganda Ismaren. She was created for the 1995 book Children of the Jedi as an Alderaanian Jedi youngling survivor of Order 66, so she has been through a lot of loss. She was smuggled off Coruscant for a time, but was eventually captured by the Empire and trained to become one of the Emperor's hands, basically secret dark-side operatives. She had a son, and after Palpatine's death, she hoped to install him as the new leader of the galaxy, but she was killed by him instead. Her story is kind of crazy, and I doubt any of it will ever be true in canon, but her name's inclusion on the wall of Mapuzo does line up with her survival and time in hiding in Legends. And our final character for today is Captain Gilad Pellaeon. He was first created for the original Legends Thrawn trilogy as the Grand Admiral's right-hand man. He was basically the Watson to Thrawn's Sherlock Holmes, someone the Chiss could explain his brilliant plans and deductions to for the sake of the audience. After Thrawn's death, Pellaeon went on to lead the Imperial Remnant for a time, and 15 years after the Battle of Endor, he accepted peace with the New Republic. He was first very quickly mentioned in canon in the series finale of Star Wars Rebels. He was present with Thrawn's fleet as it was taken through hyperspace to some unknown location. Dave Filoni said he purposefully included the officer so he could be brought back, maybe in books or comics or novels, or maybe he has plans to include him in the upcoming Ahsoka series, which will likely deal with Thrawn's return as it's been hinted at in The Mandalorian. But that's going to be the end of our list today. I bet I'll do this again at some point, but these were the first 10 that popped into my head thinking of the canon Legends characters that don't get talked about nearly as much as some of the others, at least in terms of actually being canon again. Who are your favorite Legends characters that have been brought back? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.